It sucks to get sick in the summertime. Oh,
No. Oh, no problem. We live. What's going on, guys? Nathaniel Evans, Madada. We're also Jeannie Muhammad, but she's sick today, guys. So, just wish her well. I actually put it in a little tick at the bottom so you can see that. And I'm with my amazing host again, Sunny Savage, right?
hello, hello.
Yeah, so I deal with spirituality in a person, dealing with the inner dimension dynamics. Also have a book out, Permission from Others to Exist. Actually, that's on Kindle. I'm actually looking at working at the hardcover, but that's something that we can look at for spirituality purposes. And also our metaphysical journey. That's basically why we're here today. Because when I ran into Sunny a couple months ago, it was like a metaphysical journey, right? That reconnection that we look for in the world on a spiritual plane, and we find each other as we journey through the land. We lose each other, then we find each other, then we lose each other again, then we find each other again. It's the same way as our goals and our values, even our paths. Sometimes we might be on a path and all of a sudden it just disappeared. Like, what happened to the path? Like I was I was on a nice path, right? And it might vanish for whatever particular reason, but then we find ourselves on a particular path that might be similar, or we might find ourselves on a total opposite journey. Like if I read the book on Eckhart Tolle, he talked about his journey, and he talks about how one day he was just sitting down, in his conference, teacher conference. He just got up and said, "I don't want to do this no more," and just got up and just left that whole life behind him, and just went into a whole nother path. Right. So with that, we're gonna get into the topic, which is dream the dream, and it's all about Sunny.
Oh, that's a great introduction. And Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now is a book
Yeah, I
that
read that.
I got it at the first facility that I worked in through a client. I'm gonna put it that way. So a client came to me and said, Miss Savage, you need to read this book. And I was like, what book? Right? First off, like how you're on my wavelength. Like, hold on. He said, no, this is how you talk to us. You need to read this book. So I got the book and I was floored by his journey,
Mm,
by the consciousness of healing that was possible. Like before I read that book, I didn't understand the language of healing, right? So we all have our own like mental, oh, I got to get over this or whatever. But that was the first time I saw it in a book in the proper context that actually could relate to me, because that same facility was my first job in social services after leaving corporate. So it was like perfect, not even perfect. I don't even say perfect, divine
mm,
timing, right? And that's kind of what led me to where I am, even the type of books that I read. So I'm always grateful for that moment. And at that time, it was the beginning of me chasing that new dream. Like you said,
yeah.
he was like, enough of this, right? And that was me in corporate America working at UPS, prestigious title, but that doesn't matter. Now I know the title doesn't matter. Um, and it wasn't making sense. It wasn't adding up to my purpose. To I know you could resonate with this, but just sitting somewhere and just having an overwhelming feeling of knowing this is not it. Like there has to be more than this. This
Yeah,
is not it.
yeah. Like
I'm
this is
not
like,
fully developing.
yeah, because like at one time it was just so exciting. It moved you, it drove you, right? Is one of your dynamic purposes, and then one day it just loses its luster. That overwhelming power. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my professors said, the power of a thing is the desire of it, right? So it's like you create the desire. You know what I'm saying? Your desire is actually what creates something to be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You give it purpose because you actually seek it. You want it. That new jacket in the store, those sneakers that I had, you know what I'm saying? That particular person, you know what I'm saying, that you have to get close to. These are things that you actually create the
Mm-hmm.
desire, the power of it. You create that. It comes as actually you're the energy source for that. But one of the things he said was that once you obtain it, most of the time, especially if it's a tangible object, it has no more power anymore. You no longer desire it. Now you go and find something else to desire, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
just shows how it's a continuum. It's always moving. Who we are is always moving. We're not stuck. A lot of times we get caught in this world and it's like quicksand is all over, but it's only our perception of it. You know what I'm saying? Is our belief systems and our value systems and our morals that's associated to how you perceive all the different quicksands that's around them, because they're all around us. Regardless of
Mm-hmm.
what we do or what we don't do, they're there. They're in the form of people, places, things, you know what I mean, ideologies, philosophies, things of that nature. And we have to be very careful on our path in our dreams to understand that resistance is evident, right? As we pursue our dreams and as we come into new lights, you know what I'm saying, and new highlights for our lives, you can't get past resistance.
It's a
You can't
part
get
of it.
past challenges.
Yeah, I think the challenges and the resistance is definitely a testimony to how bad you want it. What are you willing to overcome to get there? I don't want to say go through, but overcome, because it's almost like a realization of like, oh, I want this thing, and then boom, resistance is like, do you really want it? Like, do you really want to go through the steps that's necessary to obtain it? Because a lot of times the desire is there without knowing the work, without knowing what's it going to take to actually get from point A to B. And that's where the test comes in. And that's when you're hit with life and obstacles and things that will really show you your resilience. Like, how bad do you want this thing that you said you
That's
wanted?
correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct. Yes, good afternoon, Yvette, Yana, and good afternoon, John. Thanks for stepping in. You know, and your input is basically invaluable, and tap in. Right, we always looking for people to actually show us different things about journeys that they have taken that you also want to know about, right? But we're dealing with dream the dream, right? And the different perspectives that come with it, because when you have a dream, you're in this like euphoric type state of mind. You know what I mean? You got this this new course of energy that's actually just flowing through you, and you're trying to make sense of it. But as you're making sense of it, this optical illusion now has the principle to come into a reality. And as we try to put things into reality a lot of times is set in its state, right? So you got to pry yourself in, because sometimes room is not just made there for you. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to go in the spaces, you got to create room, you got to create spaces within yourself, and also on the externals, actually going out there and you're doing the journey. And I want to know what you think about that.
I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. Just the I don't want to say it makes you delusional, but it is a form of delusion sometimes when we want things, because uh like I said before, like we don't see all of the steps that needs to be taken, but that desire is there to kind of push you to say, yeah, I want this
Mm-hmm.
thing. And over time we gain clarity of it. And then that clarity will allow us to determine the next steps, whether or not we want to pursue it in the way we thought, because a lot of times you'll have a concept of something and it evolves as as you try to hit goals. You realize, okay, maybe bigger, or not like that, like this, right? And then again, that resilience of being able to pivot and being able to say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that didn't work out, so I'm going to try it this way," and really having hope in what you want the goal or the outcome to be, right? And not losing that despite what happens. Like, if we could talk on failure for a second and how that could deter you away from getting the things you desire, right? Um, Now I think my perspective of failure is totally different, because I've solidified who I'm becoming as a person. So in the beginning, failure feels like, man, I shouldn't be doing this. We may take it as a bad sign, like, oh man, this didn't work. I probably shouldn't be doing this. And now it's almost like, not that way. Not no, but just not that way. Right. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't change your desire to get the goal. It may change how you're going to execute your steps to get there. Right. And that's part of life and how we evolve and how we grow, because like you said, nothing stays the same. That stagnant energy is death, right? Change is energy, right? That's the flow of it, right? So being able to kind of like bob and weave with what's happening and still wanting that end goal and staying committed to it throughout failure. To me, like, I can't even tell you how many times I had to redo my business, reformulate, change the population of people or my target audience as far as who I was talking to, and say, wait a minute, that's not the right people. But I came in the gate, like you said, with all of that energy, just ready to go all in for that group of people, and then realizing, they're not receiving what I'm saying. Having to sit with that, give myself grace, ego death, and then saying, I gotta redo this, right? Who am I really talking to, and why am I doing this? And coming back and saying, oh, not those people, these people, and then moving forward with full confidence, still saying, I'm not stopping. I gotta do it differently now through that failure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because even as one of our guests, John Anthony Scott, even mentioned here, as you can read it, even though us Black Americans are the result of slavery, we still haven't forgotten what was passed down through what's that? Kabul, Ion ancestors, something the white race can't destroy, and our unity and our resilient attitude towards living life.
Right.
Right, exactly what you were saying, right? And this resolve that comes to us, this resolve that's a part of us, this intuition, this spiritual impulses is not all accountable to us. John Scott said that an ancestors, there are other energy sources that's out there rooting, what I mean, for our, what I'm saying, our triumph, rooting for us to actually become successful and actually be these spiritual beings of light. I'm saying that we seek to be in the world, right? It's not every, we are in the world, we see these negative vibrations and negative impulses, but it's some beautiful vibrations and some beautiful impulses out there as well that's got our names on it. It's just waiting for us to walk through and say, hey, I got her. She just walked through Fifth Avenue. You know what I said? I wasn't expecting her to turn out Fifth Avenue, and I found her. She's right there, right? It might be in the sense of a person. It might be in the sense of something that you actually see, or even something that you may hear as you're moving through the land, right? All these things are part of our spiritual guidance. Somebody might even say something to you like, you look amazing today, sister. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And you may think like, oh, it means nothing. Somebody just came out of blue and just compliment me out of nowhere. And you're like, okay, well, 6 months ago, nobody was to compliment me on nothing, right?
Right, right.
See?
No, but it happens. That's also a shift in energy. Like, like your energy 6 months ago might have been trash. So you kind of are like, in the background. Now you're standing out. You got a little glow to you. You got the master glow from like The Last Dragon. It's one of my favorite movies. So you kind
Yeah,
of stand out differently. And
yeah.
I think
Somebody just
that's
run up on you and
true.
just hug you. Somebody just run up on you and just hug you out of nowhere.
It
How about
happens.
that?
That's your frequency though, right? Or maybe a kid or even a dog might, want you to pet them, and then the owner's like, "Whoa, where'd that?"
Yeah,
He's normally not friendly. I'm a
that's
different
right.
type of person. Exactly. My
Yeah,
energy
like
is
one time I
different.
saw on the train, and I think it was some people from another nation, whatever. But their daughter was sleeping on me. Right, I was sitting on the
Oh,
train. She just fell asleep on me, and I ain't say nothing. I'm just sitting there. This is a part of nature. It's a part of when I looked over and glanced. I said, "This is a part of nature." You know what I'm saying? And I didn't think nothing about it. I went on what I was doing. But it was the people, when they saw it, was like, they were just so agitated behind, like, oh my God, don't do that. And I was like, yo, you shouldn't be teaching this type of social context, I'm
right.
saying, as a lesson. This is not who we are. I'm saying? We are not these divisions that humanity has created us to be. We are not these separatists, I'm saying, that they think that we are. I'm saying? Even though we're individuals, we also come with a collective. We also come with an entity that actually showed us that we're not an individual because we have another entity that keeps us whole. It's a balance. It's a
Hmm.
duality. So when we move in the world, we have to move in a world of balance and duality. And as we're in the world, we create separatist values and concepts, and we show cultural differences that have no differences because every culture has the same basis. I'm saying? To treat its culture with kindness, with love. I'm saying? To build and fight for its community, for it to develop. I'm saying? For its generations and generations. I'm saying? To actually live in abundance and truth. We all want the same things. There's no nation that thinks, oh, you know what? I want to be impoverished. You know what I'm saying? The best thing that could ever happen to me in the world is for me to be impoverished. No nation is thinking on this type of level. And for nations to actually come into this type of space, whether they have political power in their country, financial power, cultural power, religious powers, or what have you, right? If they remove themselves from the basis of those teachings, then there are no teachings.
Right. I think it's important that we create a narrative or change the narrative for how our culture looks and views certain things that we deem culturally appropriate or inappropriate. Where did we get it from? Where did that mindset come from? Is it true or false? And what is the reason why we practice these things every day? These rituals, right? That may not necessarily fit the world that we live in
Mm.
today.
Use the right word. You use the right word.
Yeah,
Ritual. It's a ritual. You know what I'm saying? A lot of time you get caught up in social contexts, you know what I'm saying, that have their own definitive purpose. At the end of the day, it has nothing to do with you. You actually go and insert yourself in certain things and try to be a part of certain things, and it's only to take away the energy of you. It has nothing to do with you actually fitting into these different spaces or you'll be actually being a part of the group. And when you're on a spiritual journey, you actually start deciphering these type of vibrations and start moving accordingly, you know what I'm saying, and moving away from vibrations and also towards them according to your unique purpose.
I agree. I'm trying to read.
Yeah.
Ian is doing some tremendous things in the white youth for does not want us to know for fear of us uniting back into its origin. Right. I agree. There are a lot of cultures who have an agenda um against us connecting the dots, is how I would say it. Because
Mm,
these are all things that we already know. The same way John had mentioned our ancestors in the past. It's not like we are oblivious to things. Our ancestors are
uh,
always there whispering. They're always there trying to guide
yeah,
us. But
that's true.
society is kind of trying to mold us in different ways, despite what's being whispered, right?
That's
Society is
right.
like, no, don't listen to that. Block that
Mm-hmm.
out. This is what you should focus on, right? And we have to be able to hear. And by hear, I also mean feel, right? And know what's right and what's wrong for us. That spiritual journey is us kind of the balancing act of us coming to
Mm,
terms with what we hear versus what we see, right? What's being shown to us by society, by social media, even our families sometimes. Things have gotten distorted over time, right? So those rituals, again, that we practice daily, thinking this is the norm, when it's actually removing us from things that we should be paying
mm,
attention to, which is our internal system, the things that we naturally feel, that whisper from spirit, that whisper from our ancestors that says do this and do that, that helps us make better decisions in business and relationships and just living overall. That one voice that may say, don't go into that store. And you listen and you go, oh man, it was a robbery. Like, right, I would have been in there had I not listened. Is those little things we have to catch it, pay attention to, and honor it so that it becomes now a ritual to listen to your own instincts, your own intuition, to know things to say, things not to say, people to be around, like you said, being a part of groups that don't really serve a purpose in your spiritual growth or your overall purpose in life, right? And knowing what that feels like. And again, I'm gonna bring up grace, allowing yourself to maybe do it and have to step back and say, oh man, that wasn't the right thing for me,
that's
and
right.
still being able to keep moving, because that's gonna happen. It's not like a perfect road of perfection to spiritualism. Like there is no such thing.
Where did that come from? Who created that?
I don't. Somebody who
Right?
was lying. Somebody who was
Yeah,
lying through their
like
teeth.
who? Yeah, like who created this concept? You know what I'm saying? Of perfection. You know what I'm saying? According to who we are, knowing that we need one another from the beginning, from the inception, in order to exist, right? And being that that's our principal element of existence, right? Whoever raises us determines what basically on a certain level our genetic makeup or who we actually going to become. And they're not all perfectionist people in the world. So for us to even think on a level that everyone's supposed to be perfectionist actually takes away the humanistic values and the values that's actually within society within itself, right? And it's like the question I just asked you, why do we question what we already know? When you was when you speaking, that came to me, and it came to me because I remember I was one day I was on the train again, and I was reading this Hindu book. Is forgot to sound like that, but it was actually talking about Krishna, and I was actually reading it, and it was two Indian ladies that was sitting across from me, and the other Indian lady asked the other Indian lady like, "Is he Hindu?" Right? Why is he reading this book? You know, and the lady was like, "No, you can see that he's not Hindu, right?" And I was like, "Yes, okay, it's cool." But when I'm reading the context, and it's telling me that they're not supposed to have these great biases that they actually create. They're not supposed to have promote these great cultural differences that's actually they're being being promoted through the land, right? Because according to their Hebrew text, their biblical text, their Bible, right? They are supposed to walk in solidarity with all, right? And show righteousness in all the things that they do. So when we're looking at society and we're seeing like certain behaviorisms that's not in correlation to what's supposed to take place in society, we go investigate.
Right.
Right? We want to read the books, right? We want to go talk to y'all. We want to like even sit in some of y'all pubs and have a drink just so we can hear the conversation. Right? We want to investigate. We want to see the energy. We want to see the waters that you have with one another. And once we see the waters that you have with one another, and when you interact with us, that means, and you don't present that rawness, that means you have a cutoff switch.
Right.
It's
I
a light
think it's
switch
so
that you're dealing
important
with.
to read from different cultures. You should not just stick to what you've been taught as the end all be all. You're so limited if you believe that that's it. Like even with religion and spirituality, like my own journey of I was raised Muslim, then Christian, and then became an adult and said, okay, Buddhism, and then went back to realizing, you know what? All of this makes sense. Like, wait a minute, like,
Mm,
but if that's an allowing, that's not something that everyone is taught to do. We're kind of taught to do the exact opposite, which is no, this is what we do. Stick to this. These are your rules of life, right? Because of I don't want to call it dysfunction. I used to look at it that way, but because of that, like that mixture of spirituality, I am curious about everything. I'm curious
mm-hmm.
because I want to know what did your culture say was the thing that would make it work, right? I'm not doing it for conflict reasons or to like try to get over anybody. I need to know, what do you guys feel about the remedies to making this work, right? Life, I mean. So that curiosity is there, and you have every right to explore. They're questioning you reading the book was the exact. They need to read the book. Like, they need to
Yeah,
understand. Like, even in your
yeah,
books, it says
yeah.
that's not the thing to do,
Uh-huh.
right? They need to be reminded of that as well. And I think because our culture specifically has been broken down so much, we lost our own books, and we have to kind of like pick and choose and say, okay, that makes sense for my life. I want to develop this skill set, or maybe mom was wrong. Maybe grandma wasn't right when she said this was the way I had to do it, because my life is not panning out the way I wanted to when I was following those rules. But now that I'm
That's right.
exploring and I'm seeing all these different cultures, and I'm looking at them, I'm realizing, hey, that actually makes sense for me, not for what you say I should be doing, right? And also looking at the people who are instructing you, how did their lives turn out?
Mm,
Not just to be to put them down, but how did it pan out for you when you followed those rules, right? Did that work? No, it didn't work. Okay, no problem. You're also my blueprint. I'm going to take what I can from you. I'm going to look at this Buddhism. I'm going to look at Islam. I'm going to look at everything around me, because God put it in front of me for a reason. And I'm going to study it, and I'm going to figure out what's the formula I need to actually survive in my life. So,
that's right. That's
what
right.
did John
And
say?
this is John said, and you can read it.
Okay. Slavery was made out of a few things. That's the endurance that our ancestors had, and our resilience to adapt, and fear of. Okay. In less than 450 years, we have adapted to someone else's way of life, language, culture, and religion. This is
Yeah,
true.
and then he said, and we're still adopting, and we're still here,
Right.
right? And I think one of the things too is looking at the concept of adaptation and really breaking that thing down and understanding that you know we're all new beings. We're all, what I'm saying, new life sources in the world, and I think that's something that we forget. And we come into this world and we get manipulated. We get brainwashed, you know what I'm saying? And we get caught up in different historical factors and things like nature that, in a sense, has nothing to do with us other than for us to understand the application of man.
Mm.
Whatever religion that we follow, whatever concept that we follow, understanding history, we look at wars and things of that nature, is understand the concept of man. What is man? And I mean man, I mean man and woman are capable of doing and what they have done in the world, and what are their overall blueprints, you know what I'm saying, that they have left in the land. Like if I actually hear the word Nazi, right? I don't get good vibes that go down my body. I don't care, what type of nation they were. I don't care how much money they had. I don't care how much power they had. If I hear the word Nazi, right, I'm creeped out. I'm creeped out,
Yeah.
right? Because of historical elements that was associated to it, you know what I'm saying, reality associated to it, right, are detrimental to humanity in a whole. Not just one set of humanity, but humanity as a whole. If any group in the world comes forth again with this type of concept, whoever is targeted, you know what I'm saying, is at a point of extension because they actually master in how to remove humanity out of the world, how to move life out of the world. So when we adapt into life, we don't adapt to their cultures, to their religions, to their concepts, to their belief systems, to their values. We adapt according to the spiritual journey that already exists within us,
Mm.
right? And it helps us to navigate through many of these things and to show the true precedents in the world. Like if people talk about, oh, let's create black businesses. Like our ancestors never created black businesses. Like there never been black Wall Streets before that never got burned down and destroyed and things of that nature. So when we actually looking at this social context in the world, we see that it's actually a definitive structure to try to prevent us from actually moving in this space, right? Of creating these different levels of wealth, you know what I'm saying? Different levels of love and vibration that exist in the world. You know what I'm saying? Even if you get into relationships and things of that nature, relationships take on like a carbon copy type structure. The world actually speaks of relationships in a certain way. If you get married, you know what I'm saying, you gotta be a certain way if you get married. If you in a gang, you gotta be a certain way. But all these dynamics that we associate ourselves to are restrictions because they don't exist, right? They don't exist. If I get married, I don't have to follow the context that y'all say that I have to use when I'm married.
Right.
Right? If I'm in a relationship, I don't have to follow these different social contexts that's there, that exist, that you have pinpointed for my existence before I was even alive. Right? So some of these, when I go to school, you're talking to me about Aristotle and Socrates and different men and women, something like that. These men and women are no longer here, right? But I'm still hearing about the social context that live in the world. Even if they was good or not, we leave our basic blueprints in the world. And whatever blueprints we pick up as we're basically trying to design our blueprints can infect them, whether on a negative or on a positive level. So you have to be very careful on picking up certain blueprints and where you pick those blueprints up from, right? And what is the purpose or how you even search it in these different elements and exposing yourself, because that's basically what it is. You're exposing yourself to new things, right? I was, I actually had an incident with a friend of mine who actually started studying some Buddhism type knowledge, but he was studying like through some type of book that he received. And he showed it to me, and I glanced at it. I said, nah, my spirit told me that, you're not supposed to be dealing with that. You're not supposed to be tampering with that. And he looked at me, he was like, what? I said, yeah, my spirit told me don't mess with that. So I came back probably like 2 months later. He saw me. He was like, hey, man, I need to talk to you. And I was like, yeah, what's going on? He said, yeah, some type of energy, some type of spirit, demon entered me. And I was
Mm.
like, well, I was like, wow, that's deep, brother. I'm really sorry to hear that. And he was like, well, I know you're a deep spiritual brother, so I want you to look at it for me, the text that I was reading, and see if you could decipher it. And I was like, nah, my spirit told me don't mess with that. I said, I'm not even reading done, and with nothing. Right?
Nothing.
That's it. Nothing.
The
Nothing.
demon trying to get you to come too. He like, yeah, read
Yeah.
his book. Check it out.
Nah. not dealing with that. Yes, I'm not dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
even on your spiritual journey, I only say that to say this, on your spiritual journey, you have to be careful of what you expose yourself to.
I
You
agree. And
see?
having discernment, that word discernment, I learned through the spiritual journey because it was like when you're seeking knowledge, you know, you are kind of open. It's ignorance, honestly, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna just go try this and see, you know. But that does not always work, and you have to have that discernment within yourself, like you did, and say, no, that's not for me, right? And this is
Mhm.
not gonna work for me. Everything in me is telling me don't touch that book, and you probably shouldn't either. But to each his own, you know. That discernment
That's right.
level is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, because even some of the things that Scott was talking about, these are basically past harm that was passed down to us from the things that happened to our ancestors, right?
Mm,
And we have to see these things from a spiritual level of what is our spiritual relationship with these realities. If I look at the assassination and the riots of Martin Luther King, if I look at the fact of us being denied basically high educational facets in this world or even the rights to equality, what does that mean to me spiritually if I actually strip away all the red tape of these concepts? What does it mean to me spiritually? And I will go first, and then Sunny can go next.
mm,
My relationship, my spiritual relationship, as I actually look at these things and actually strip away, I'm saying, all the different layers to it, it's actually telling me that it's placed there to try to deny me my spiritual purpose and my spiritual journey, to force me to look into a space and a time that does not correlate to my spiritual space and my spiritual journey, nor of the highlight or an enlightenment of it.
mm. I think that's a perfect way to put it. When I see what is being revoked or taken away or trying to be covered up by other cultures and societies, that makes me actually want to go deeper into it. That makes me say I need to find new ways to actually get to this information, and I need to find the way that's right for me, right? If
Mm,
the school system is not going to be reliable when it comes to teaching certain information, that's fine. You know, that doesn't mean I don't have access to the information. That means that's not my route to get it, right? You
that's right.
can try to block everything if you want, right? It doesn't mean the information is not going to be presented to me. That's just, it's going to be harder, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but that's also showing me the level of, what's the word I want to use, potential that I have, that you feel like you can try to take that away to strip something from me. That's showing me the level of fear that you have for my knowledge, right? It doesn't make me want to quit. It just means I'm not going to get it that way, and that's fine. You can use it that way. Now the way
Mm-hmm.
that I do get it, you don't even have to know about because you think I'm going to be ignorant because you tried to block me from getting it that way. No
Yeah,
problem. And
that's
I
right.
think our coaches need to see it that way, not
Yeah, because
woe is
as
me, they're
we,
taking the books. Okay, how else can we get the
yeah,
information?
yeah, we aspire for our greatness because it is our greatness, right? We don't aspire for nothing that is not us and that we don't have the potential to become. We are
Right.
this what we aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? We are exactly what these entities actually fear the world because we are the fear of the world. We can move, we can shift, we can change, we can develop. You know what I'm saying? We can strategize, we can create. We're all these things and some. We can't even define who we are and our true
Mm-hmm.
measurement of our true purpose. We don't even have a clue. You know what I'm saying? But what's happening is that we are still striving. We're still tapping in. We got our little instrument, you know what I'm saying? And we creating our own craft, man. We creating our own designs. And as we find other people, we saying, hey, man, you missed a spot,
Right.
right? Yeah, we want to tell people you missed a spot, you know what I'm saying? So that individuals to know that they're not just here alone and that people don't see their purpose, that people don't see what's happening to them. I don't know where this call is. Some type of call coming in here. Sorry, guys. I don't know where it's coming from. Hello? You get me?
I can hear you. I don't know.
You get me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can still hear you.
How is that? Oh my God, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
I got a call coming in, and I don't know, something is interrupting my audio. Oh, I see it. Let me close it. All right, I got it.
All right.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that, guys. I don't know where
No,
that
no, it
came
happens.
from.
We having a
Yeah,
good conversation. That's what the
yeah,
look. The energy is
up
trying to
and I
stop you.
blocked it. Yeah, actually, I actually got on do not disturb. You know what I'm saying? And some type of energy just shot in there, man. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
all
So
good.
I
It's
show
all
you even
good. We
when
were
you,
saying something really powerful.
yeah, it show you even when you're on your path, man. When you in that dream of your life, man. You in your warrior. That things are gonna come in the midst of your path to try to trip you up, try to move you out of your space. You know what I'm saying? And our Sunni was saying, you know what I mean, this should be the fire, you know what I'm saying, that you would need to keep moving forward. Is that when something comes in your space to move you, you gotta start, jumping high, you know.
Yeah, that's
You got you gotta
that's the testimony right
yeah.
there.
Or
When
even
things are
going
coming
low.
at you. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta find some different maneuvers, you know what I'm saying, to actually get around these different things that's in our lives because we are the potential of greatness, but that greatness comes with a price and it also comes with a purpose. And it has to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
As we
Yeah.
moving through this land, we have to be intentional according to our purpose, according to our greatness. And yes, believe it, man. Believe it. Regardless of who you are, what type of greatness you have done in the world. We believe this. We rise and we fall. We rise and we fall. We rise and we fall. Right? One of the main things is that when you fall, is not to forget that you have the ability to rise, right? And when you rise, do not forget that you have the ability to fall, right?
Mm.
You know, this world, man, when we looking at life, man, it has a duality to it, right? And every duality is teaching us a lesson. These are our spiritual learnings, head on, moment to moment, step to step, journey by journey, right? The principles of who we say we are, who we say we want to become, will meet us right there at the corner light.
Oh yeah. I
You know what I'm
think that's
saying?
important to know. You got to walk into a journey knowing it's going to be opposition, and still knowing that you have to move forward. Like you said, it's like life is literally boot camp, like, for your goal, and do you tap out? Like, no. I had a crazy week this week, well, last week now because it's Sunday, but and I just remember making a video and saying I just had to say the words, like, if you see this, do not tap out. Like, if the
Mm,
energy is coming at you right now, you got to know it's for a reason. If something's trying to hold you back, you got to know it must be some force coming behind you, baby. That if something is
mm,
going out of its way to try to block you, whether it's society, a specific person, your boss, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, that energy that's coming for you understands your greatness. And maybe
mm,
sometimes more than you do. And I think that's the real issue that we have in our culture is we don't see our own resilience. And when we get faced with opposition, when we get knocked down, we don't think we're supposed to get up, or we don't know
mm,
how to get up. We don't know how to overcome that. But if you understood the journey and just knowing that that's part of it, like getting knocked down is literally part of it. Like I said in the beginning of this, I couldn't even count on my hands how many times I failed in business. But right now, today, I'm my greatest because of it. It wasn't a negative, it wasn't a takeaway. They were lessons. It was resilience in me of getting back up and then changing my narrative, not to be a victim of what was happening, but understanding the lesson, the value of it, right? Even if you want to put it to society, what's the value in someone trying to knock you down? And that
mm,
the answer to that is your skill set that's grown behind you getting around it or overcoming it, right? That's something that cannot be built unless something tries to come for you, right? So if we could look at it that way and say, the only way I'm gonna get through this is by literally pushing back and not allowing it to take me down, not allowing it to keep me down, but understanding whatever this is not the end all be all for my story. There are other
mm.
ways to get around it. What can I take from this? And what do I want to be the outcome? Not this, woe
But
is me, I'm knocked down. No,
yeah,
what do I want? And
yeah,
then moving forward with that
yeah,
energy.
yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's like if you was a psychic, nothing will ever happen to you, right? you're not learn anything. You know, you won't experience anything in the world. So you won't have this map, right? You won't have this roadmap that you need to follow. You won't have this mental imprints that you have created, you know what I'm saying, throughout your journey. You know what I'm saying? That's there for you now when you need to apply them. Right? You may find yourself in a detrimental situation where you learn no lessons.
Mm.
So how do you get out of this situation? Right? How do you navigate around man? Right? If you're not able to see his energy, his body language. Right?
Mm.
When I was in the streets, when I was young, you know, I picked on people energy in an instant. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be standing right there and be like, oh, these people up to no good. Let me get up out of here. Right? And then people be like, come back later on, like, yo, you just broke out. Like, and as soon as you broke out, stuff started happening. I was like, yeah, you know, my intuition told me to get up out of there. So I just broke out. And they're like, oh, but you ain't tell none of us. I was
It
like, well,
wasn't
you
your
know,
message. It wasn't your message.
I'm like, well, y'all see me leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just see me just break out. Like, you know what I'm saying? And from then on, when I used to be in places and I just break out, they just start breaking out with me. I don't gotta tell them no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
Right.
funny business over here, right? I came here willingly. I want to leave willingly as well. You know what I'm saying? We don't got nothing to prove. We don't know about no egos. We don't know about none of that stuff, right? And I remember an incident that was really, really prevalent that I would like to share. I was young, you know, in my 20s, and a friend of mine that passed away, and you know, it was a lot of us. We was congregating. We was outside these projects, and we was congregating, and people was talking, you know, and actually, you know, sharing their respect and their love for him, you know, things of that nature. And out of nowhere, you know, as we was doing this, it had to be like 50 of us or something like that, like standing right here in this small space. And I remember out of nowhere, this group of men came out of nowhere with guns, vanishing guns, started grabbing people and stuff like that. And they grabbed this one guy and was like, you used to have beef with my friend back in the days. Like, and he was like, yeah, but me and him squashed that beef like a year ago. Like, you know, I ain't had no beef with him when he passed away. And as I'm standing, I'm looking at this thing, and the spirit told me, yo, you next. So now the guy that passed away was my friend. Like I that was my friend. I grew up with him. He was my friend. Never had no issues with him, anything. But my cousin did have issues with one of the guys, you know, whatever. So I think it trickled down to me. But anyway, I'm standing there, and something said, when they finish with him, they're gonna come and get you. So the other guys are fighting these guys. They stand in front of the gun. They trying to make sure they don't shoot the guy, or whatever. So as I'm watching this, I started stepping backwards. And I remember I hit the door, I grabbed the knob, and I just slipped into the building, right? And I just went through the back, and I was just gone. I just disappeared, right? And I remember I came out probably like maybe the next day, and I didn't come back out. I was like, I'm chilling.
Right.
I ain't messing with this. This energy is crazy. These guys, I feel this type of way. They trying to take their retribution out on other people. I'm not getting caught up in that. I stay in the house. When I came out the next day, it was this guy that came to me and said, man, you know, you soft. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean I'm soft? He was like, yo, because you knew they was going to take your life and you left.
It makes you soft because you were smart enough to remove yourself from dying.
See? So you got to look at this cultural structure. They under this cultural philosophy, right, of being macho or having pride and ego. And I'm under the philosophy out there at that time of staying alive, right? So, you
Take
know,
your bullets like a man, they
yeah,
said.
no, not me, you know, not Miss Evans' son, right? So it's like, you know, I had to learn, you know what I mean, at that particular time, like, you know, listen to myself and then look at the philosophy of men because I learned something from this man, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow, that's deep. And I told him, I said, you know, if you don't start paying attention, you're going to lose your life early in these streets because you're not paying attention that this is survival of the fittest,
Mm.
right? And you got to be sharp on your toes to survive. That's every second count, right? And I remember this guy, he had an incident that was not similar to mine because the guy told him, you know, I'm going to come back for you. And he waited for the guy to come back and the guy took his life. And
Wow.
it's looking at these relationships that we have with cultural values and cultural constructs that we have to basically assimilate, right?
Yeah.
We cannot fall into the cracks of all these different social, crevices that they have created, because a lot of these different social crevices that they created were created when we were still asleep.
Yeah.
Before we open our eyes, these principles, these belief systems, these government structures, these laws, it was already here. So we have to find effective, and efficient ways according to our spiritual journeys to navigate around all the molasses that's actually all around us, trying to hold us back.
That's so true. And letting go of the concept of he's not gonna outman me in a sense. Like you're not gonna be stronger than me. That ego of it, your intuition and your ego are two separate entities, right? And one is
Mm,
trying to help the other. If you don't know how, people always say kill your ego, right? I don't know if you should kill it, but I think you need to learn it. You need to understand it,
mm,
and to the point where when your intuition is speaking, your ego knows who's in charge, meaning it knows to stand down and not let your pride get in the way of your life. Because the story
that's
you
right.
just told, that was someone's ego saying, "No, I'm gonna sit here and wait for him to come back," not knowing that's gonna be one of your last thoughts. And was it
That's
worth
right.
it? To
No,
say you sat there and waited for death makes you stronger? Nah, I'm getting out of here because I got something to live for. I love myself. I love my sanity.
yeah,
I got things to do. And I'm not going to sit
yeah.
here and wait for you to count me out. Like, that's not a good way to move in life, you
I
know?
got things. I got things to do. Right. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful way of looking at it, because you got to be on point. You got to be strategic, and you got to see the value of who you are. Like, even at a young age, I saw my value,
Right.
right? And I was like, oh, these guys is crazy. Let me get up out of here. I ain't
Right.
getting caught up in this situation right here, you know? And
Not
it was just
today.
so, and I'm gonna just tell you something, man, because a lot of people, they run around with vendettas, and oh, they try to take my life. I'm gonna come back and get them. My spirit told me that thing was only for the moment, right? So when I escaped it and I got home or whatever, when I came out the next day, I saw these guys. These guys didn't say nothing to me.
Right.
They ain't say nothing to me when I saw them the next day, because I didn't have no problem with those guys. It was just that their energy was very detrimental to anybody that crossed that path, and they had even the slightest altercation with them in any time in their lives. And I had an altercation with them months ago. I thought it was over with, but actually it wasn't, because when that spirit conjured back up, it was like, oh, he deserved retribution. And
Mm.
I was like, nah, I don't deserve retribution. I gotta get up out of here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I,
That's self love,
I,
like you said. That's self love right there. Where you like, I love myself. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I ain't going to sit here and
yeah,
wait for the BS. Nope. I'm out of here.
yeah.
I don't
That's
need my,
correct.
my face on the t-shirt just to prove a point. Like I'm not here for that. My purpose is so much greater. There's so
That's
much
right.
world I have not touched yet, and I know I'm
Yeah,
gonna touch it.
yeah,
So
that's right.
not
So when
today.
you get caught up in all these different brandings, you know what I'm saying? That's a part of society, right? Understand a purpose,
Yeah.
understand the reason of that branding, right? Is not there for no reason, right? And then look at all the different levels of success that came from these different ways of branding that they actually created within society. Like, if I talk to somebody, they say, for instance, if I talk to a Christian, right, and I tell them, they say, hey, they came across a lot of money, right? And I said, well, I read this scripture in Proverbs, and they was like, really, what was the scripture? I said, well, the scripture said, in the day of your wealth, not forget your friends, right?
Mm.
So, they're looking, but like, I'm like, well, did you remember your friends in the day of wealth? And then you might come to a point where, like, oh, but this is my blessing, it belongs to me. I went out there and got it. You know what I'm saying? So it only belongs to me. Even though my friends may have assisted me, here and there by helping me with the word the, we, or and when I was trying to write my book. You know what I mean? That's of no consequence. Right? I did all this thing on my own. I'm this magical giant because
Mm.
of me and me alone. Right? So when you look at these and you say, okay, how many friends, if you go into these different religious contexts, how many friends within the religious contexts have made their friends wealthy when they became wealthy?
That's really deep. That's really deep. And I think that the scripture is telling you that. And when they say friends, I don't think they just mean like your best friend, your brother, the person standing next to you.
No,
You
that's
know,
right.
it
That's
in
right.
general, it's
In
like
general.
how have you now taken what I gave you to the friends, maybe people like you who came from where
That's
you
right.
came from, right? Your
That's correct.
community, right?
That's
How
correct.
have you now? Those are your friends because they're in the same shoes you was just in, right? You may take them off for a new shiny pair, but your friend is still wearing that old pair. And how can you now
Uh,
advance them from what you now know? And that's the purpose of me giving you this blessing, right? And so you can now take
uh,
it and spread it to the people and let them know that they
mm-hmm.
could also obtain it if they have this mindset of we're going
Yeah.
to take this now and we're going to spread
Mm-hmm.
it so that everybody is in our condition now, not just I
Yeah,
got new
because
shoes,
that's right. Because now, when you look at the concept of friendship, it's basically like this mystical. It's like this mystical. I said, basically like script of us walking out and lock hand in hand, and we laugh at each other's jokes, and we finish each other's sentences. And I know what cappuccino you like, and all these different things. No, that's not the concept of friendship,
right.
right? Friendship is moving with each other on journeys and helping each other to develop and create purposes and create structures of purpose for one another's lives. If you have a vision and I jump on that vision, I'm your friend. We
You
don't gotta
better
never,
be right because if not,
yeah, we don't gotta never have an intimate conversation. You don't gotta
right,
take me out to get a slice of pizza, right? None of these things are prevalent. The only thing that's actually prevalent in this situation is the fact that I came on your path to assist you in your journey. If you're looking for any other type of quality friendship other than that, you're not gonna find it.
right,
You
and
can go out,
that's false to even
yeah.
expect it. Yeah,
Yeah, because you may go and meet somebody and say, "Oh, this is my friend," because y'all went shopping together and all these different type of things. And one day you might find yourself in a severe hardship, and they be like, "Yo, man, I can't assist you. I'm in a position to assist you, but I cannot assist you."
mm.
Now what? What do you do from there? Right? Can you actually increase the relationship at that point? I remember all the good things I did together, all the stuff I brought together, and all
That's
the
not
places
going to
that
help
went
you at that
together,
moment.
right?
Yeah, that's not
See,
going to help
it's
you.
not gonna help
Yeah.
you at that moment. So when you're
Mm.
looking at friendship, right? Friendship is to assist you on your journey, right? There's also another passage that's in Proverbs that also says this: um, a friend is born for a time of adversity.
Mm. Okay, and that's to support you, I guess, in the
That's right.
adversity.
So if you use those two passages together, what is it telling you? What is it telling
Well,
you?
I guess it's for that season of when you're in need, and a real friendship is based off of how that person can actually assist that moment and not like on the grand scheme of things, the way people put it,
That's
like
right. Yeah.
12
That's
years of
right.
friendship. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, no,
Like,
no, 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 no.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So it's basically showing you that adversity and wealth is connected according to friendship. You cannot
Mm,
have one without the other. You cannot forget a brother in his days of adversity, and you cannot forget a brother in the day of your wealth. You are locked in when you talk about friendship and quality of life and building structures, right?
mm.
Because as you build structures, you never believe that the structure you built is going to crumble,
That's true.
right? So the scripture that says, in the day of your wealth, store your wealth up in 6, maybe even 7 places, because you know not which way the wind will blow. That's talking about friends. That's talking about people, places, things. to
Yeah.
actually invest in. So if you actually fall into a hardship, let's say miraculously 15 years from now, you have some cushions to fall back on or into in forms of
A
friends,
reliable one,
a
because
reliable one.
you've invested
Because you
into it.
invested. That's right.
Right.
See, it's storing up your spiritual blessings. And storing your spiritual blessings is for you, right? This
Mm.
is something I say to my wife all the time. You know what I'm saying? Is that when you do good in the world, right? When you hold core to certain principles and certain things in the world, this is according to your developing your spiritual blessings for you. You're storing up resolve, you know what I'm saying? You're storing up purpose, storing up insight, you know what I'm saying? Experiences, right? These are for your learning, and this is for your God. So you never know when you have to apply these things in life. But as you store them up, you can give them out freely. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
You
There's a
can give
different
them
type
out
of
freely.
abundance. And
That's
that's a
right. There's
different type
different
of bank
levels of
account.
That's correct. That's right. So you have to look at these different levels of abundance. Like I was at a memorial service in honor of Carl Stubbs. He was an advocate, for social justice. He dealt with, reentry. He dealt with homelessness. He dealt with every marijuana, overdose laws, whatever you can think about. Charles Carl Swab was a part of that, and he'd been on a journey for many years. Way before I came on the scene, and I've been on the scene probably like a little over 10 years. And I was just looking at it, and I was saying like, this place is supposed to have been packed around the corner. People supposed to have been trying to fight, get into these different places, and when we're looking at our spiritual journey, we gotta look at sometimes the reality of who we are spiritually does not match on the external aspects of life.
Mm.
And that's basically what it showed me. I wasn't looking at that as far as like a thing of boasting or a thing of basically, making Carl icon. I was just saying the work that he did for all those years, man, you only had maybe 50 to 100 people there, if that. But he changed the lives of millions of people that probably never even knew that he changed their lives. When
Mm.
he helped put certain laws into place and act certain laws or fight against certain laws or omitted and things of that nature. Even advocates that knew him and that claimed to be, like these big giants in the movement, some of them didn't even show their presence or even pay homage. You will have to be, I'm busy. This life, I have something to do this day, or it
Mm-mm.
came at the wrong time, right? And the Most High said something. He was like, "It's better to go to the house of mourning than to the house of mirth." You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's like you got to realize, like, what is the principles? You know what I'm saying, of what you stand on in life, and our spiritual journeys also are connected to how we perceive the spiritual journeys also of others. And we in this world, we connect ourselves to all these materialisms, all these different levels of tangible realities. And we try to make them into a substance, we try to make them into a purpose, until a hurricane come and dissolve all of them,
Mm.
right? And now we got to start over. And they're actually showing you from the beginning, it had no purpose other than the purpose that you gave it. Nature does not care about your flat screen TV, bro, right? You know what I'm saying? There are things that you accumulate in life that you deem to be important, that only you deem to be important.
Right.
So you have to stay in your resolve and stand in your truth, regardless of only one person coming to memorial service, right? Because you don't know what's going to come afterwards. And that's what it is. Like when I go to these places, it shows me we don't know what's going to come after. I've been to people memorial service I didn't even know. I never met them a day in my life. I was hanging out with one of my friends one day. She said, "I'm going to see my friend memorial service. You want to come?" Sure. Why not? Right? And
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, she's 42, beautiful woman." That's alcoholism, right? So at the end of the
Wow.
day, we don't know where we might wind up at, or why was I even there to show my spiritual presence to her? I wasn't there physically. I went there spiritually to show my spiritual presence. And it's noted that I did so. So we about to end, but I want to Sunny, I've been talking like a storm.
No, it's okay. All I wanted to say to
Hanging
that was
in.
that the right people are always in the room, even when it's over. So you being present meant a lot for both services. You know, the right people are always
Wow,
there to show respect. So
that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, guys, it's a blessing. Don't click off yet, Sunny, but it's a blessing,
no,
guys. Got tuned in, subscribe. You're gonna find Sunny on Google, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts. He's all over. We're gonna post his thing all over. This is our second, hopefully not the last episode that we do together. This is a great, great energy. Oh yeah, we're doing other projects, but I really don't want to spoil it. You know what I'm saying?
they'll
But
see, they'll see,
yeah,
they'll
stay
see.
tuned, connect with
Yes.
us, man. Ride out our energy, tap into our energy, ask these deep probing questions. You know what I mean? Let us connect with you. We want to connect with you. We want to connect with you, right? And connect with us, and let's feed each other, in this world. We're not alone. No one's alone, right? And this is what our data wants you to know. We are the data of our change.
Mm,
Peace,
beautiful.
guys. Peace.